The seed of life and the fabric of the zodiac, perhaps the fabric of all things. Now, it's very difficult to speak about the seed without attempting to tell the story of creation, but I'm going to try to keep this video short. Its intention is to show you how to draw the 12-spoked wheel, which we do through the seed. The seed of life is the fabric of the zodiac. The seed itself is 6 circles stitched around a center circle of the same size. We begin, as all things do, with the circle of spirit. Well, there's a beginning to that beginning too, which is source. But what's the point? I mean, that point might actually be a line emerging from source straight towards our eye, but I promised I would try to keep this short. So let's start with the circle. This we draw with the compass, the geometer's tool. You might not have a drawing compass at home, so you could trace to create these circles, any circle like a pan lid or a bottle. However, you're going to want to be able to see the center. So a plastic lid with a dimpled center, for example, is wonderful because we can center that lid on the circumference of the first circle, which is what we must do to create this shape, which is the vesica piscis, the fish's bladder, the mandorla, the sacred almond, or the yoni, the gateway of creation. And we could center our second circle anywhere on the circumference of the first circle, right? So this construction, this vesica piscis, is 2 circles of the same size, the same radius, which are centered on each other's circumference. I like to start my second circle at what I perceive to be below from source. And I'll say that as I draw that circle, I'll say to myself, as above, so below. Our third circle, or our second circle stitched around the first, is going to be centered on the intersections of these two, or an intersection of these two. Of course, there are 2 of those intersections. Now, I could start here on what we perceive as the right and continue around this first circle in a anti or counterclockwise fashion, which here in the northern hemisphere I will call moonwise, and I'm recording this on Monday, so perhaps I shall go that way, but I think actually I'll go sunwise or clockwise, and I'll start at this intersection which I've just colored yellow there. So a third circle of the same circumference centered at that intersection will pass through the centers of the 2 circles we've already drawn. And we get this beautiful shape, these 3 circles interlaced. I'm going to continue in this sunwise direction. All of my centers will be on the circumference of our first circle of spirit. And we will find that 6 circles of the same radius will stitch perfectly around that center circle. This is the seed of life. I think I'll color this, well, maybe I'll keep it very neutral, actually, because I want to show that there are clearly 2 6-petaled flowers here. This is the story of polarity. We have our outer flower, and I'm going to color those, red for the fire signs. I'll call this Aries, and this Sagittarius, and this Leo, right? So this would be the grand fire trine, like that. And the grand air trine, this would be Gemini and Libra and Aquarius here. So this shape is likely familiar to you, and I can turn this around and you can see that this is the source of the different glyphs that we use to depict the alchemical elements. Alright, well, I'm going to take these lines away and we'll stick with dots for now. So I've got 3 red dots representing the fire signs, and I'm going to do 3 yellowish dots representing the air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. All those being outside of our original circle of spirit. Inside that circle, we have a 6-petaled flower whose tips will be the earth and the water signs. So I'll use green to depict Taurus and Virgo and Capricorn, and then blue to depict Cancer and Scorpio and Pisces. Maybe more neutral again for that inner circle. So it's hard to see those colors show up so well. I guess for the sake of the sacred science, I'll draw in the grand water trine and the grand earth trine here. And again, we see the Merkaba. The seal has so many different names. But importantly, what I want you to really tune into is the truth that the seed of life has a 6-petaled flower inside our original circle of spirit and a 6-petaled flower outside. And these we can see as like the down and in signs and the up and out signs. Now, if we draw lines through these petal points, we will create the 12-spoked wheel. We really only need 3 lines to connect the earth and water signs. This is the story of opposition, as we call it, though the old name was diameter. So those 3 lines, or 6 rays emerging from the center through the earth and the water signs, and another 3 lines or 6 rays will connect the fire and air signs. And this is the 12-spoked wheel, but we need one more thing to finish our construction, which I call the octave circle. And the reason why is that this circle will have a radius that is twice that of the original circle. And in musical harmony, one of our sister sciences, an octave has twice the frequency of a fundamental note. So let me show you, if you're drawing this at home with a compass. Now clearly your plastic lid of a fixed size will not work for the octave circle because it has twice the size. But if you have a drawing compass, you simply need to define the center, which of course is defined. It's the center of our construction here. And then you need to define another point to draw a line through, right? And so we're going to use the ruler, which we already have, to draw this, which I'll call vertical line here, and we define that point. Let me just see at the top of the construction this purple point that just came in. We're going to use that as the point that will define the circumference of this larger circle, the octave circle, here, right? And you see that encloses the whole thing. And so once we're in that place, we can define these other points on the circle. I'll color them here in purple. I'm just going to go all the way around, actually. And we'll find 12 points, equally spaced, 30 degrees apart on our circle. This is the 12-spoked wheel. So I'm going to, let's see, make this a little bit easier to see. Oops. By just thinning out much of what we've already drawn, including the seed. Okay, and then I will draw, I guess we'll stick with this royal purple, lines from source towards, I guess what I'll call, we'll use the natural zodiac, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. The 12-spoked wheel, the zodiac, which itself is formed upon the creational fabric of the seed